to the Gaming Discourse. I'm Tyler Frater alongside Richard D. the Cruz.
Hello.
And Chief Engineer Lieutenant Commander Connor Frater.
Good evening.
It is Monday, December 19th, 2022. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at the Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse, where we post videos. Go check out the latest video. Video Game Executives are a bunch of silly gooses. A compilation of 3 mini essays about 3 different video game executives and something that they have said/done that really bothered me. And I think it turned out good. I think it turned out the way I was kind of hoping it would. And it was a different format than anything I've ever done. And I think I'm going to do that format again in the future. But go check it out. Patreon.com/The Gaming Discourse. You can support us. You can get access to our Discord server, early access to videos, stuff like that. $2, $4, $7, and $10. And yeah, I'm making sure there's nothing. We will have a show next week on the 26th, but we're going to do like a 2022 retrospective look back show. So it's going to be a bit different. So barring any huge news, we probably won't talk a whole bunch of news next week. But for now, there is a bunch of news to get into today. Let's talk games. Who's been playing games?
Well,
just me.
Probably, yeah.
No, I played.
I haven't played a ton.
Playing actually. A little bit of God of War, and I rebooted up Hard Space Shipbreakers.
Oh, okay, interesting. Wait, on the PS5?
No, on my PC.
On your PC, okay.
Yeah.
How's?
Well, it went. I didn't know this, but it left early access a few months ago, and it's full release. So all my progress got reset.
I'm sorry,
but it's fine. I still hadn't, made any, definitive headway in eliminating the $1 billion of debt you started in the game.
I didn't know you started.
Yeah, you started like $1.4 billion in debt and you're working it off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a dystopia. That's what's going on.
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a corporatocracy that's taking over. You're working for the company to pay off debt for something. I can't remember specifically, but middle management and everything takes over, and it gets more and more depressing as you play. But
you get to take apart spaceships.
You get to take apart spaceships and hopefully not kill yourself in the process.
All right, awesome.
Because if you kill yourself, they clone you and they charge you for the clone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that is really dark. Kind of reminds me of
Outer Worlds.
Outer Worlds or Sleeper Citizen. Yeah. Because that's sort of a similar vibe. Okay. Richard?
Played a little more Need for Speed Unbound, but not like too much more. Enough though to decide that, and I know this is going to be an eye-rolling, like you should expect this, but that story is absolute trash. And I know that, yes, it's a racing game, but like, there were simple stories, like most Need for Speed Most Wanted, the original one back in 2008 or 2009 was like, hey, this guy stole your BMW and now he's the top racer. Like, climb up, beat all the racers, and get your car back. And it's like, okay, it's simple, whatever. But it's like this one is you have a passenger with you who's like your good friend, and you guys work for a mechanic. And within like 2 races, like your passenger is like, for some reason, I missed it, is like, this shit sucks. Let's be criminals. And you're just like, no, we just fixed this car. These races are cool. Like, I want to race. And it's like, nah, I got a guy who needs a driver to like go do stuff. And it's just like, okay. And then there's a falling out and they take your car, and it's like, all right. And then the city is, I think, based off Chicago. It's called Lakeshore, but
okay,
I think it's based off Chicago. And it's the most like, the city's like beautiful. It's a beautiful city, but it's like, you listen to like, they have like not transmission. They have radio talk shows and stuff. And it's like, in this city, the absolute worst thing in the world is racers, apparently. And I know that's also like a well, of course they are. Like, yeah, you have to. but it's like they're like passing like legislation and like all this, and it's like so the cops will do nothing but to go after you.
It's like the beginning of The Incredibles, and it's like superhero crackdown.
Yeah, right. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So it's just kind of like, wow, this is not great. And unfortunately, the story mode is kind of, I believe, the only way to kind of unlock cars and stuff. Thankfully, when you're done with it, you've unlocked everything, and then you can go online. But I haven't tried online, so I don't know what that entails. But from a couple friends one friend who plays it and is like way further than me, he says it's actually kind of annoying because, so if you're in a race the cops will show up in the race, and depending on how much damage you do or how much heat you get on you after the race, they will continue to chase you. Like it'll go into a like chase sequence, and it'll be like, all right, escape the cops. Well, depending on how high your heat is, it goes up to 5. Then it's like cops are spawning out of nowhere, left and right. Helicopters are after you. Like all this crap is going down, and like you can't actually play the game because as soon as like get out into the open world and go do what you want to do, it's like cops are already after you, and it's kind of like, man, I haven't got to that point yet, but
maybe you should just stop racing. Then you wouldn't, be a criminal.
Maybe be a criminal. Well, I mean, racing is far less worse than whatever my passenger wants to do, apparently. But anyways,
we've all been there. We're just sitting at home one day, like, I should rob a bank.
Yeah, I should rob a bank. Yeah, it's traffic drugs and stuff. But,
yeah, we've all been there.
But I only played that for a little bit. I've been trying to play God of War, and I just haven't been able to squeeze time to, unfortunately. So
okay. I am pretty close to the end of God of War.
You said that last time.
I think this time I had my wife look up the list of quests because I was curious because I didn't want to accidentally start the final quest.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I'm right at the beginning of the final big quest. And I tell you what, God of War is just really good, man. God of War 2018 is just really good. Although there are a few things that I don't know. Okay, I don't know if I'm disappointed or if I just haven't played far enough yet. So Niflheim is different, and I don't know if is it Niflheim. I think it's Niflheim.
Niflheim is the elf. Is elves?
That's Alfheim.
Oh, is that Alfheim?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I think Niflheim is the one with the toxic gas in God of War 2018.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
And
okay.
you have to.
Oh, that's the
rush
first
through
one
it.
you visit through.
Yes.
Or the first one you visit. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's the one where it's like the end game area.
Yes, yeah,
where you run through and you have to stay out of the toxic gas and there's traps and stuff like that. So, so I don't know if it's the same thing because I finally went to Niflheim, killing Odin's ravens in this one is an actual side quest.
Yeah.
Where in the previous one, I think it was just something you could do. I don't know if there was like a side quest.
There was no lore tied to it.
was
I mean,
one of the collectible things.
Yeah, it's like a collectible. And this one, there's an actual side quest, and you actually get armor and stuff after you destroy all the ravens. And then there's something else that happens. But in Niflheim, I don't know if there's the same sort of end game thing where you can run through the mist. I don't know for sure, because I don't know if I just haven't unlocked it yet or what.
Right.
But that would be a little disappointing because I really enjoyed that in the first God of War. The other thing is the Berserkers are the stand-ins for the Valkyries.
The Valkyries, yeah.
I don't really blame God of War Ragnarok for this because it's really hard to beat fighting Valkyries. I don't think the Berserkers are quite as cool or unique because they're just big knights, kind of.
Yeah, they're fallen warriors from like whenever.
They're cool. Don't get me wrong. And like, and the arena appears around you and all that stuff. I'm not saying it's not cool, but the Valkyries felt a little more difficult and complex. I felt like I had to learn a Valkyrie before I could defeat it. And maybe it's just because I'm such a high level now. But with the Berserkers, like hours ago, I couldn't touch them. And then I was like, okay, I'll deal with these guys later. I upgraded Kratos a lot, and now I go into a Berserker fight, and I take him out in like a minute or two. Like it's not that difficult of a boss fight.
Yeah, you have to be more powerful.
So I may have just now, and this is sort of leading into the next thing that I kind of wish they did, which I wish they made it where enemies would scale with Kratos, because I want those difficult boss fights because I think the combat is just phenomenal. And there are tons of little tiny, like if an enemy is rearing back for a really
intense
like
attack.
There are these guys called travelers, which are just pieces of shit, right? They're the guys with the shields, really long swords. They'll turn their back to Kratos and their shield is on their back and they walk really slowly and you can't do anything to them. You have to like try and get around them or something, you know?
Oh, okay.
They were in the first game as well. Oh shoot, what was I gonna? Damn it! I was sitting here describing what the travelers are. Oh yeah, so one of the travelers' abilities is they like hold a crystal above their head, and they squeeze it, and this big, like, rolling attack, like not AoE, but like an attack that like a wave, right, emerges from them. And it's difficult to dodge, and I've died by that move a lot of times. But when they pull out their crystal and they hold it above their head, if you hit them in the hand with Kratos' axe, they'll like hunch over and you'll cancel that attack out. And all kinds of enemies have moves like that where if they are about to do something or if they are in the middle of an animation, you can stop them from doing something with a well-timed axe throw.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. That's freaking awesome. And I think that was in 2018 as well. I don't think it was as prevalent though. I don't think there was as many enemies.
There was not. You could do it in the first game, like double tapping L1 to like block them, or just
not just block them, but like throw the axe and stop an enemy.
Like
from
with
doing
the dark elves when they throw those things at you, you can throw that.
Yeah,
yeah.
But
or light elves, whatever.
But anyway, so back to my original point here. So the combat's really good, and I kind of wish you could there was like an enemy scaling option that would keep enemies from getting too easy. I understand, but at the same time, I don't know what other effects that would have on the game. But like, because I really like sort of the difficulty in God of War, and God of War has like it is strangely difficult. It's more difficult than 2018. And I'm playing on just like the normal difficulty level.
I think that would be nice if you put it as an option, as a difficulty option. Yeah, because you run the risk of people not feeling like they're getting more powerful.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's why there's could be other side effects. But like the Witcher 3 had an enemy scaling option, so that even when you're a level 50 Geralt and you go back to somewhere else and you fight an enemy or something, enemies are still going to be relatively powerful compared to Geralt.
Yeah.
So that keeps things interesting, right?
Got it.
But anyway, so it's not disappointing. It's more because I don't think it's a problem with the game. It's just, man, this would be cool if I could do this kind of a thing with the game. But still, God of War 2018 is just really, really good. I haven't really played much else. I played a little bit of Squad. Squad is just so good.
Now, what's Squad again?
Now, what's random JRPGs again? Yeah, I can do it to you too. I can do it to you.
I literally said that so you can actually go into the conversation.
Really?
No,
I apologize.
I wasn't poking at you. I was like, no, let's make this go like an hour again. Jesus.
I'm sorry.
When's the last RPG I played? Name all of them. I'm kidding.
Time Princess of the Crystal Dawn.
That's pretty close. That's pretty
Damn,
close.
I did play that one.
There was a princess and a crystal. So
no, I respect your game choices. We all respect our game choices. We're just joking.
No, man, I play Honey Pop.
So I played a little bit of Squad, and that was really good. Man, this thing happens in Squad. I just want to complain about it for a quick second. So nobody wants to be a squad leader in Squad.
That's okay.
Right? Because squad leaders, it's stressful, because you're not just playing the game, you're managing your squad, you're talking with command, you have to set up spawn points, you have to set up your... I enjoy playing as a squad leader when I have friends, because when you have people that will communicate and work together, you can coordinate that way. But when I'm by myself, I don't want to play as a squad leader because
Makes sense.
I don't want to have to try and get a bunch of randos to communicate. So I'm like, I'll just play as a medic, and I'll be a good squatty,
which could arguably be worse as well, depending.
But people will do this thing called they'll bait people. So at the beginning of a game, how squad works is you have to join one of your team's squads. You can't just spawn in. You have to join a squad. Or you can spawn in, but some servers will kick you out. You have to be a part of a squad. So the squad selection screen will sit there, and nobody will have formed a squad. So you'll have 40, 50 people just waiting for somebody to start a squad because nobody actually wants to be a squad leader. So what some people will do is they'll start a squad. It'll fill up in a matter of like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Right. And then that person will promote somebody else to squad leader. I know, right? It's such a dirtbaggy move. And that has happened to me a few times. And because I know how to squad lead, I'm just like over the radio. All right, listen up. I just got fucking promoted, or I'll be like, I'll be playing as a specific kit, earlier a couple days ago, I was playing as anti-tank, light anti-tank lat, And I'm out watching an enemy position because I'm trying to figure out where they're coming from because they were running around a building, and I'm like, are they coming from that building? Or are they just running through that building? What's going on? So I'm doing some awesome like recon, right? And I get promoted to, and I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I'm like trying to communicate with my SL what's going on. He leaves. I get promoted to squad leader, and I'm like, oh god. So the problem is I'm as squad leader. If you get in the middle of the game, if you get promoted, you don't die instantly, or your kit doesn't change. You're just an anti-tank squad leader, which is useless because you don't have you don't have the right equipment to squad lead. And some servers have rules where if you're a squad leader and you have the wrong kit, you'll get like kicked after 5 minutes or something. Okay. And it's just because they don't want people to like start a squad and select the sniper or something like that, which happens occasionally. But so anyway, so it's like in those situations, what I have to do is I have to like, all right, guys, like go over command chat. Hey, I was watching this building. There's enemies running through it. I'm just gonna advance and keep going until I get shot or until I find something because I have to die and switch to squad leader kit. And man, squad. And I guess we'll talk about this in a little bit, but squad just has the worst player base. It is just the absolute. It is just dog bread bad.
Human piece of garbage.
It is just the worst group of people. The most obnoxious. It is like there is me and a few other people, and then everyone else that plays squad is 15 years old. Right? Yeah. It is the worst thing on earth. But the game is just so good, and they've added a few other factions, and every time they add factions, it's exciting because factions will work a little bit differently. They added the Chinese army, so there's a new tank in there. And actually, the Chinese tank is interesting because it has a really tall machine gun cannon on top of it, right? Which is remotely controlled from inside the tank.
Oh, cool.
But tanks they're built as low as they can get to the ground for a low profile, right? So you can hide behind a fence, and you're hiding a 20-ton, 105 millimeter cannon behind a
absolute
wooden fence,
unit,
right?
Yeah.
And so that's why they, and that goes back to World War II, smushing tanks down to like trying to get them as close to the ground as possible, because high profiles make easy targets and stuff like that. And tanks are easily identifiable because of their cannon. Blah blah blah.
Tank for ants.
So, what is this? But the Chinese tank has a really tall gun on top of it, and I thought that was interesting, and that'll make it easily identifiable even from a distance, because that little tiny gun, if you see that poking above a fence at a kilometer out, yeah. That's the tank, because that belongs to the. So there's little tiny differences in not just what armies, what they have, the kind of weapons and stuff like that, but also just how their vehicles look. And if you can learn those differences and you spot something, then that's information you can process, and then you can win the game that way. And that's I just love that about Squad. And it's one of those things where it may be a detriment to your team, it may be a positive thing, because maybe you have a helicopter that's more easily identifiable. So, like the Black Hawk is pretty easily identifiable. As opposed to, well, I think it's easy, but like the Black Hawk and the Hind have two really distinct looks. The Black Hawk is like a fish. The Hind is like a dragonfly. It's like fat at the beginning and then has a long tail, where the Black Hawk is sort of thick throughout. But newer players don't necessarily know the difference. But I think the Hind has a more identifiable look. So even if you are way, way far away from it, it's easier to pick out because it's just how distinct it is. So like if you're playing as the Russians, that means it's easier to pick out your helicopters, less of a chance at friendly fire and stuff like that on helicopters. And that's great. Just the cosmetics of the game lend the game a symmetry, different strategies and stuff like that, and folds to gameplay, which I think is just magnificent. But anyway, those are the only games that I've really played. I want to play Squad more because I miss it, and I want to check out the new faction. And I'm going to try and finish God of War tomorrow before we have our big 2020 retrospective.
Oh, right, yeah.
I think in Squad, no matter which faction I'd play, my job will be the same. And it's always the same.
Loading up, man, trucking.
It's always the same gameplay cycle.
Yeah, just doing those
Yeah,
logic
just
runs.
trucking.
Just doing those logic runs.
Yeah, you gotta with all any of those types of like multiplayer games. I'm sure military shooters a lot, but Overwatch is another good example. It's like everyone wants to be the hero. Nobody wants to be like
This is true.
the person who helps or the person who instigates the things. And so like obviously, like you mentioned in squad, if no squad is built, and then if somebody picks leader, it's like 2 seconds, and it's like the same with Overwatch. No one wants to be support, and then you choose Mercy or Lucio or something, and
then
it's just
everybody
like, and then
hates
you
you.
find a match in a less than like 30 seconds, and then it's like, yeah, everyone hates you, but they're the ones who are fucking up, not you. And so
Yeah, or it's no one wants to be the squad leader, but everyone will freely just completely demolish squad leaders for mistakes.
Right,
It's like,
right.
damn it. either allow people to learn or don't allow people to learn and have no squad leaders, but you can't have it both ways. Every game of Squad is like this. There's a scene in Band of Brothers, which is, the TV series following the 101st Airborne during World War II, where it's like toward the ending of the series, they're like driving somewhere and they're all in trucks and they're singing Blood on the Risers, right? He ain't gonna jump no more, right? And so they're all singing and they're having a really good time. Earlier in the series, when they assault Carentan, there's a scene where they make their assault and 2 characters make it to the town, but everybody else got pinned down. So they're like they get split up from the rest of the people, and one of the characters turns to the other and goes, "Where is everybody?" And the other character just goes, "I have no idea."
Oh my God.
Like super sarcastic. But anyway, I've always thought it would be perfect to like mesh those 2 scenes together, because the beginning of every squad match is people, "Oh, look at me, I'm dancing, I'm playing music through my headphones, I'm leaning back and forth." And then 15 minutes into a match, it's the other scene where it's like bullets flying, explosions. Where is everybody? I have no idea. Like complete breakdown. Anyway, but it's fun, because it's Squad. So I need to get that off my chest. We ready to play the commercial?
Real quick, people listening, play more support classes. Just do it.
Yeah.
I don't, man. I used to.
And if you aren't playing support classes, thank your support classes.
Yes, thank your support classes, because back when I was really into League and I was playing competitively, I made it to Gold 3 solo queuing as support, and I always got shit on. But I was Gold 3 solo queue support, which means I did my fucking job well. All right.
I'm surprised nobody tried to pick you up to like help on their team.
No, because
like,
I'd always carry the carries, and I didn't want to work with them.
There you go.
What? Why isn't anybody playing support on Overwatch 2? Because Lucio. Because I remember Lucio
Because
being a
it's a thankless
super
job.
popular character, and Mercy.
Yeah, they are very popular characters, but it is a thankless job,
It's the ultimate catch-22, because either you do good, which makes your partner do good, and they look good.
They look good, yes.
Or the team does bad, and it's on you.
It's your fault because you're not healing. Even when I love it because I have so much content on my TikTok feed gaming wise, but one of the main things I have is tons of videos from streamers who are support class players recording these guys just to berating them and claiming it's their fault that they're losing, but then they'll look at the scoreboard and they have 15k plus healing, they're doing their job, and the other guys aren't, and it's just this weird dichotomy of how support classes are perceived.
That's the kind of thing that it's just it just makes me sad.
Yeah,
because it's we let too many people play video games. We just need to
gatekeep video games.
We just need to gatekeep it more.
And I love it too. Particularly Battlefield. I love being throwing medic classes and just fucking shocking people with defibrillators. And stuff.
I don't
it's
understand.
Awesome.
It's that, and what's the other thing I was going to mention? There was one other thing that how people dislike skill-based matchmaking, even though it's been around since
very long time.
Gutenberg invented his printing press. Skill-based matchmaking has been a thing
since the Bible.
Since the Bible.
Since the dawn of man, it's all
God
skill-based matchmaking.
You have no other gods but me. If you rank up early, be prepared to play other golds. And Moses was like, what? And he's like, that'll make sense in a couple thousand years. But I don't understand. People get like we just too many people play video games. I'm going to be gatekeeping right now, and I'm tired of it. So we need to reduce the number of gamers by like 100,000.
At least.
That's a small amount, honestly. compare. That's a small amount of people.
Every 9 gamers will beat the 10th gamer to death.
Okay.
It's all out gauntlet.
We'll have a real life matchmaking. For last one standing, you get all the video games. Okay, play the commercial. Thanks for listening. If you like our content, please consider subscribing or leaving a like and comment. You can find us at patreon.com/thegamingdiscourse. And our tiers are $2, $4, $7, and $10 and include getting your name in the video credits, early access, and access to our Discord server.
HTC is set to announce a Meta Quest competitor at CES next year. Speaking with The Verge, HTC Global Head of Product Shen Yi shared details about the upcoming headset. Lots of features, fully self-contained. There's a 2-hour battery life, supports hand tracking and controllers with 6 degrees of freedom, and color pass-through, which I also read as well.
Yeah.
Standalone VR experiences through Vive port and can connect to the PC via cable or wirelessly. There's been no word on the price, but Yi indicated it will be more expensive than the Quest 2, which is $399 MSRP, saying, quote, We're in an era when consumer VR headsets have been massively subsidized by companies that are trying to vacuum up and take personal data to provide to advertisers. We don't believe the way that we want to approach it is to compromise. Yes. We don't believe the way that we want to approach it is to compromise on privacy. End
There
quote.
you go. Yeah. So that, I don't know who Yi was talking about there. I don't know what company would compromise on privacy that happens to have a huge market share of headsets. Don't know.
It's a meta
Valve.
joke.
Valve. Well, you're not wrong.
Yeah. It's a meta. That was a good one. That was a very good one.
So yeah, the color pass-through thing, that's how I read in The Verge too, but they didn't use the word, if they may have. It was written by Addie Robinson, who covers VR for The Verge, does a great job. And I don't remember if she used the word pass-through or not, but that's what she was describing. Pass-through is on the Meta Quest / Quest 2. Right now, you tap the side of the headset, you get like a black and white footage,
see on
like
the
almost
outside,
like a security cam footage of your surroundings, and you can walk around and do basic stuff like that. If you like how I would use it is if like an alarm goes off on my phone, I could tap the headset twice, I could find my phone, swipe it to turn it off, that kind of thing. Color pass-through, though, is different because what do you need the color for? There could be a few things, maybe. I don't know, but pass-through was always like a convenient thing where you could move a chair. You could pick up your phone, move it. What does color add to that? I don't know. They even talk about in the story, like, okay, what does color do? And he indicates, we don't really know what people will do with it, but we're going to put it out there and we're going to see what develops. It's one of those technologies worth having, worth putting out in the wild and seeing how it develops, which I thought was an interesting perspective on things. I do wonder, like, how big is the market for VR that's not gaming? Like, how big is that market?
I can't imagine personally it that big, but of course I'm not in those markets, so
That's the thing.
I can't say.
Is sometimes these companies talk about VR as if it is a new device. You have a laptop, you have a phone, you have a TV, you have a pad, an iPad, whatever, but a tablet, but that's also essentially a big phone. And some phones are almost just as big as tablets now. So it's like those are your devices, right? And they talk about VR headsets as if those are going to be a new device that people have to complete tasks or add into their daily life. I don't know if I necessarily buy that because VR is more intrusive, way more intrusive than all of those devices. And all those devices have made their way into our lives because they're convenient.
Right.
Phones are incredibly convenient, right? Look at our laptops. They're all really small. You can do a lot on them, right? TVs aren't convenient, but TVs today, a 65-inch TV today is cheaper than a 65-inch TV was like 20 years ago. Even when you, not by numbers, but if you adjust for inflation, I think on relatively speaking. The TVs today are cheaper, even though they're more advanced, or at least better quality. So like, can a VR headset fit into that ecosystem? I don't know. I don't think it can. Think about all, like, when you wear a headset, your face is, you look like a goblin. Your face is messed up. Your hair's donezo.
Yeah.
Like, and think about everybody on Earth that does their hair in the morning, puts on makeup, that wears glasses, all that kind of stuff, right? VR gets in the way of all that. So it's like, I don't know. I don't see VR as something where enough people use it outside of gaming that there is a substantial market for that. I could completely be wrong here. I don't know. But I just don't see that as a thing. Do I think it's impossible that like companies could use VR headsets for training purposes? I don't think that's impossible. Mm-hmm. I think that's reality. But how big is that market? That market's not that huge. Right? I mean, I'm sure it's sizable, but it's nowhere near the market for gaming. So anyway, that's just what popped into my head here. Because I think if I were a company that was focusing on VR, right now, I don't know. Well, I guess what's won out is a cheap headset. A lot of people have bought that. But I still think the future lies in apps and things that take advantage of VR as a medium.
Yes.
I think that's where the most interesting future lies. You know?
Yeah. And I think that the main thing about VR, when I think about it, it was always, even when we had rudimentary VR in the late 80s and
Sure.
mid 90s, was that it's going to take you to where, it's going to take you to different places.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take you to do different things. I don't want to put on my headset just be here. I want to do things with my VR headset. I want to play games. I want to experience some of these worlds. Like, I mean, we talked about hopping into City 17, playing Half-Life VR, and it was just like, oh my God, like I'm here. I know I'm not. It's stupid to say that, but I'm here. It's crazy. Yep. Yes. And so the kind of push to reformat VR into something different, a different utilization, is very weird to me. But I know that's not necessarily how technology works, but I use this phrase all the time at work. Technology does not care about the past. It only cares about the future.
Oh, yeah.
And so they keep just doing stuff to see what works. And I think that the easiest market to get the most returns on is the video game market or the interactive like market. And they're not focusing on that. They're trying to focus on other stuff. I don't know what happened specifically to Google Glass. I mean, I do know, like, obviously it was a failure. People don't, but
taken to a pasture.
Sure.
In upstate New York.
But isn't that exactly what VR is trying to do now with the AR thing? Like, because Google Glass supposedly
I know what
had
you mean.
Like this information you could see through the glasses, etc. And we've seen how what is it called? Not the Quest Pro. The Meta Quest Pro.
What used to be the Quest 2?
No, the next one, the $1,300 one.
Oh yeah, I think Quest Pro. I think that's it.
Yeah. So the Quest Pro, like they showed, like, oh, you'll put on the headset, and like instead of one screen, you'll see 3 screens, and you can utilize that. Like, why couldn't Google Glass do that same thing?
Sure.
And it's smaller, and it's it may have been more expensive, but I feel like same idea when you're trying to introduce augmented reality.
That's an interesting point. And then it's like, why have the whole entire headset at that point?
Right.
But and then you could also ask, why not just use a laptop?
Right. Yeah, right, exactly.
And there may be, and if the Zuck was sitting across from me, he'd have an argument ready or whatever.
And it's also, once again, it's very easy. I have a laptop, plug in a HDMI to the TV. I'll get 2 screens if I want to.
If you really need it. Yeah.
Yes, like it's...
Yeah. And it's like, that's the thing. It's like, I remember that commercial of the lady in a recording session, and she's bringing up the different things and it's conceptual. Yeah. However, but even a conceptual idea of, she's working with her band and she's tweaking the audio with her headset, and then she takes off her headset, or maybe even she leaves it on to play the keyboard or whatever. Even conceptually, it still doesn't make sense, because it's like, okay, that recording set, how long is this session? You're going to be wearing a VR headset the entire time?
Right.
It's like, you're going to do that every time you do a recording session? is that really more convenient than just having a laptop next to you than having an engineer behind you do this kind of stuff? I don't know.
Right.
So it's like when I unpack it, it doesn't seem like a VR headset is necessary there. It feels like it's more of a metaverse idea, like this idea that they want this social media next level Web3 thing that is amorphous and exists only in the minds of like tech bros and stuff like that.
Right.
I mean, but the utility of it, I just don't see.
Even off the cuff, I can think of like really silly things, and you guys are probably laugh, but it's like, oh yeah, if I got to train some schmuck if I got to train somebody, not some schmuck. I'm so sorry. That's not what I meant. It's
No. You're right.
If I want to train somebody at like McDonald's, and I don't want them to like splash hot oil all over the place, like, VR applications used for that,
Yeah, and that's what we were saying earlier.
I can see those simple things, but
then
an hour and a half meeting, like
we already don't want to do it.
No,
and again, with the McDonald's thing, the question goes back to how big of a market is that actually?
Yeah.
And are you going to get a headset for every single employee that needs to be trained?
Right. And it's like, I need a meeting. There I am, where got to get are my batteries charged or this and that, so it's just cumbersome and it's not ideal for the situation that they're,
There's all kinds of potential with VR games. So
I show my dad that he could play mini golf. It's the greatest thing in the world. Like
exactly.
Show my mom she can climb a mountain, and it's like
it just blows her mind. Yeah,
magic.
And I'm not belittling that. It still blows my mind.
Yeah,
right?
No, right for sure.
Right. Yeah. Are we?
Let's.
I'm gonna move
real
on.
quick.
Yeah.
Google's still making Google Glass apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
They relaunched it in 2017. And they're working on Google Glass Enterprise Edition. And they have a Google Glass Enterprise Edition 2, which launched in 2019.
How really?
Yeah.
How much are these things?
A lot.
I don't know because it doesn't seem.
I assume
it's still in development because it's. You go to Glass or to the page for it. There's an early access program.
Oh, jeez. Okay. All right. Well. Cool, I guess.
Can't wait for them to abandon that one too.
Right, exactly. That's the worst part about it. Is
exactly.
but also coming back around to it is I can't get over. I understand that Meta or Facebook or whatever. I don't give a crap.
Facebook.
Right, Facebook is subsidizing the cost of the production of the VR headsets. I fully understand that, but I also don't foresee you catching on to an audience with a price tag that's higher than the Meta Quest
with the same at the same success rate that
right
because the Quest 2 succeeded despite Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because of the price tag.
Right. I agree.
It was because people saw Beat Saber and they're like, holy shit, I can play Beat Saber for $300. You can't now because of the price up.
Right.
But 2 years ago, it was, hell yeah, they got it. And I do wonder how many of those people are retained.
Yeah.
Because I've been playing VR for,
a lot of those people will not be retained because a lot of those people don't understand how to look for things. I've had plenty of calls that say, there's nothing to do with this thing. And it's like, no, there's plenty of things to do with that thing.
Do you like Resident Evil? I have a question. Do you like Resident Evil? Yeah.
Anyways.
Okay. Epic has settled with the FTC for $520 million. The fine is two parts. One for violating the COPA rule, which Epic will pay $275 million, and will pay an additional $245 million in refunds for tricking customers into making purchases. For the COPA violation, the FTC alleges Epic knowingly collected data from children without obtaining verifiable parental consent, and that parents who requested their child's personal info to be deleted were either ignored or had to jump through hoops to get that. Also, that having text and voice chat on by default exposed teens and children to harassment and bullying. Obviously, lots of children that play Fortnite are even younger than 13 years old. So you got all kinds of rules and laws and privacy issues with that. Epic must delete personal info previously held by users in violation of COPA and obtain regular independent audits of their privacy efforts. And I assume that means just ad infinitum, like going forward, I guess. I didn't know if they put a time limit on that or whatever. Anyway, Part 2, the FTC says Epic used dark patterns to trick players into making purchases. Oh, geez, I'm sorry. This includes confusing button configurations, accidental purchases made by waking the game up from sleep. So you like press X on the controller, wake a game up, and accidentally make a purchase that way. Children could make purchases without parental consent. The FTC also says Epic locked the accounts of people who disputed unauthorized charges and only unlocked them after consumers were warned that more disrupted charges could get them a lifetime ban. In response to the decision, Epic said, quote, "No developer creates a game with the intention of ending up here. The video game industry is a place of fast-moving innovation where player expectations are high and new ideas are paramount. Statutes written decades ago don't specify how gaming ecosystems should operate. The laws have not changed, but their application has evolved, and long-standing industry practices are no longer enough. We accepted this agreement because we want Epic to be at the forefront of consumer protection and provide the best experience for our players. The laughter is mine." Okay.
I was like 2 sentences after the first sentence are like completely useless. Like, I mean, I was reading that with you and I was like, what are you trying to say? You're not saying anything here. This is just words.
So listen, like, that statement made me laugh when I read it because it's just like, you know.
Hold on, I got to redeem the free game on Epic Game Store. Give me a second.
Because it's like skeevy, scammy ways of making accidental purchases happen are not the result of like complex systems that no one could foresee rising.
No.
It's like, come on, this is pretty plain and simple stuff.
Yeah, it's a fast-moving, innovative way for them to get into your wallet.
Exactly. So for them to pretend like, I don't know, this statement of theirs I think like paints a picture that, you know, things are so complicated. We just have to, hey, you know, we're sorry, we don't want to be here, but I mean, we just can't. We're just Epic. We just made $8 billion from Fortnite. But I mean, oh my God, we just can't do this. Oh my God. Like, slow down. You knew what you were doing. Don't make yourself out to be some kind of like victim
Martyr.
to the ever expanding, ever complicating world of consumer electronics and software.
But it is. They just said it.
Yeah, well, I don't believe them. It's bullshit. There, how about that? And good, because Richard, this made me think of the stuff you talk about all the time. Because it's like parents don't understand what a VBuck is. Or
no, they don't, but it doesn't stop them from not investigating it. Like, that's also a problem. I mean, like,
Sure.
This needs to happen. Like, and it's great that it happened to Epic specifically, because I hope that feeds into EA, Activision, and everyone else to kind of be like, okay, well, maybe we should like watch our step nowadays. But there are certain examples here that are kind of like, well, this is also not like the dark patterns. Like, that's all Epic. Like, fuck that. But I mean, like, you know, tying credit card accounts to your kids play, like, that's dumb because they'll just buy whatever they want. You know?
So
but that's very small, like, compared to like the overarching problem. So
sure, yeah. We always talk about the personal accountability.
Yeah, which is even tough to
which is
wrestle.
a tough decision. Which is a tough discussion to have,
of course,
because there's got to be some level of it there. But also, these companies go out of their way to make it as obstructed, as confusing, as manipulating as they can.
Absolutely.
Right. So that kind of gets in the way there. So I do think on some, and maybe it's not just video games, just in general, right? You have to be a parent. Right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's super complicated, super controversial saying that, right? But at the same time, companies could do more to make their games a little more transparent.
Absolutely.
And I think they know that, but I think they don't want to because it could hurt the bottom line.
Right.
Or it could hurt certain revenue streams or something that they just don't want to have hurting. Yeah. And they're fine doing this instead.
Yeah, no, it's these companies, Epic and all of the not loot box system, but the microtransaction systems in general take advantage of the fact that they know that technology once again just moves so much faster than the average person can keep up with, that they can sneak these in and get their returns before anybody notices. And they know that the parents aren't going to, double check what their kids are signing up for, and the kids are going to do it themselves.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Everyone at home, everyone here can, deny it all you want. You probably won't, but it's like you go to a website you're not supposed to. It's, are you 18 years older? Yeah. It's so simple to just, not. You click the correct buttons and you're good to go without anyone noticing.
Yeah, there are plenty of 12-year-olds that know how to get by these systems.
Right. And this isn't, just the corporation problems. These are societal problems.
Yeah,
as well, which is a very, very mucky. But at the end of the day, like, this is a great ruling because now I hope that they know there's a closer eye on them throughout the future.
And this kind of stuff happens across the industry. Fortnite is not the only game that obfuscates how things are purchased, that manipulates the eye with how the battle pass is organized or anything like that. I think a bunch of companies, I think the idea of this settlement is a bunch of companies are seeing this and going, oh, we do that too, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of the message the FTC wants to send out is, hey, everybody else that's doing this, that we know is doing this, here's what we did with Epic. What are you going to do now? Mm-hmm. Because they are not anywhere near the only company that takes microtransactions and has a gigantic user base that is a bunch of children. Roblox being another massive one, right? And I think on some levels,
more so is worse.
Roblox
than
may
Fortnite.
be worse because they have fucking stock markets for their. There may be unofficial channel. I don't know if Fortnite has an official marketplace. I don't think so.
There's
cosmetics.
There's a store. Yeah, you can pick and choose what you want. They don't have loot boxes or anything.
But in Roblox you can trade with
sell
other
your stuff. No, there's nothing like that.
I don't think so. But yeah, in Roblox it's really bad. And Roblox is just one Democratic senator away from completely disrupting and that whole thing is just that's a shit show at Roblox. It's infuriating. Mm-hmm. So I saw a comment on Kotaku that I really liked because I thought this commenter sort of broke it down to something like, as long as big companies want to make the cornerstone of their business monetization, retention, and microtransactions, this is how business is going to be done. And unless that ever goes back to, we made a game, we sell the game, we get the money, that's how we do our business. Until it goes back to that, this is the skeevy kind of stuff that's just going to go on and on forever.
Right.
And I think on some levels that's absolutely correct. Because this industry, this sector, cannot just operate on, here are the things we offer, buy them or not. There has to be development around that to encourage, to incentivize attitudes and behaviors that then lead into purchases and things like that, right?
Yeah.
Dan Olson has just a phenomenal video called Manufactured Discontent, where he goes step by step. Fortnite sold this dance move. Some guy with a marshmallow for a head, some, I don't know, DJ or something.
Marshmallow?
Is that who it is?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's his name.
Marshmallow. And he did a live concert a few weeks later or whatever. And at the live concert in Fortnite, he was like, okay, let me see, do you this dance move? And it was the one that was sold a few weeks prior, right? So right there, FOMO worked into this live event happening on Fortnite, right? This FOMO of, oh, all these people are doing this dance move that we sold for $5 a pop, but you're doing, something else, the Carlton, because you didn't buy this dance move, right? They're right there. These things are that design is on purpose to build FOMO, because that's the foundation of the economic system. But anyway, do we want to? I want to move on.
Oh, let's do it.
Okay. I was going to. Oh, yeah, that's what this. Sorry, I have a note here and I didn't know what it was. Blizzard wants to get more games out more quickly. That's according to
Jason Schreier report.
finally get to use that in a context that's not dangerous because this isn't a story about abuse or anything like that. So yay. Chris Metzen,
Right.
who was at Blizzard for 23 years before resigning in 2016, has returned to work as an advisor for World of Warcraft. This is part of a restructuring at Blizzard that's been happening for a few years. Reading straight from Schreier's story, quote, in November 2021, Blizzard reorganized its video game units, placing general managers in charge of each of its big franchises, such as Warcraft, Overwatch, Diablo, and an unannounced survival game codenamed Odyssey. These managers are tasked with building roadmaps for the franchises that the company hopes will facilitate releasing more games on a regular schedule. In recent years, Activision has taken a larger role in operations at Blizzard, leading to tensions and the departure of key people, such as former Chief Executive Officer Mike Morhaime. Executives from Activision have pushed Blizzard to release games more frequently and to focus on profits. End quote. I discussed this last week, and I want to restate what I said because I don't know if I really said it clearly last week. But when games are bad, I think they're bad for they're bad. Bad business decisions are really complicated. So Anthem, was it, what's that guy's name? Not Andrew Wilson, not Blake Jorgensen. The other guy who was the head of DICE.
Oh, I can
see his face. Patrick Soderlund, right? Oh. Okay, so Anthem was bad. How much did that do with Patrick Soderlund, right? Patrick Soderlund you could draw a line, but you can't really blame it on him. He was a part of that formula that made Anthem bad, but I don't think it was him that instilled, right? So there's some criticism to be had there at Patrick Soderlund, who has since left EA, I'm pretty sure. But with Blizzard, I think you can draw an easier identifiable line from Bobby Kotick to Blizzard having trouble, right? I think it's much easier to look at Bobby Kotick directly and say, this is the result of bad management going all the way at the top and starting with Bobby Kotick, right? Because of the culture at Activision Blizzard, Bobby Kotick knowing that culture. And again, it's more complicated than just his fault, but the point I'm trying to make is that I don't think you're being I don't know. Madden sucks, but Andrew Wilson's relationship with Madden, I think, is more complicated than Kotick's relationship with Blizzard. Does that make sense? Especially because we have this point of Blizzard shifting its focus to profits, blah, 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 has been one that we have heard over and over and over again. And who was the lead at Activision for years? It was Bobby Kotick. So I think you can look at Bobby Kotick and say, not only did Activision Blizzard's culture suck and you were part of that, but also Overwatch 2 is having problems, and I'm going to blame that on Bobby Kotick as well. And I don't think it's completely crazy or YouTube ranty to do so.
No, I don't think so either. And he himself has not made it a secret, which I think is one of the main reasons why it's easy to draw that line between the performance of Activision, Blizzard's games specifically, and Kotick. And we all knew it was going to happen when they finally merged, and we were worried about it, and now here it is. So, and then that sucks to, I read it earlier, but I missed the push Blizzard to release games more frequently and to focus on profits, because it's like, oh, well, all right.
Yeah, and
there you go.
If you're an executive, what do you learn from this? Look at this. This is a case study. Mm-hmm. You would think you see the effects and go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
right? But I don't know. This is the kind of thing that bothers me about these kinds of people is normal logic doesn't apply. It's hey, Call of Duty releases every year and is always successful. So why can't every game we have be Call of Duty without any of the nuance, any of the context, right? Any of the logic behind why any of that. It's just that it's as simple as that. A does A, so why can't B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, why can't all these do A? And it's well, I don't know, man. There's probably a billion reasons for that. And it's the same thing with the games industry downturn in over the past year, right? And it's with Mark Zuckerberg saying, they fired 11,000 employees, and it's like, well, we made so much money over the pandemic, and we thought that was going to continue. Who, Mark? Who thought that the numbers over the pandemic were going to continue? We in this room knew that wasn't true, and we even talked about, do executives understand that this is a bubble that's going to pop in a few years because people are stuck at home playing games, and while that may increase a little bit, there may be people that get into gaming and stay. It's not going to be like this. It's not going to be sustainable for the next few years. And here's the leader of one of the biggest social media companies in the world, one of the biggest companies in human history, saying, we thought these trends would continue. Based on what, Mark? On what?
Yeah.
So, calming down. So, you would hope that executives see the what is going on at Blizzard and say, the mismanagement by Activision has been bad. Maybe that's not the way to do things. And then look at Blizzard's history and go, every game they released from I don't know, I'm not a Blizzard history aficionado, but there was a time when every game released by Blizzard, it was like a guarantee.
Yeah.
It was, this is going to be a good game.
Right.
It was like Christopher Nolan, maybe with the exception of Tenet. I haven't seen it, but it was like every single thing. This is going to be gold. This is going to be great. And that's not the case with Blizzard anymore. And I think you can point the finger at Bobby Kotick. You can point the finger at a toxic workplace culture. Both of those, I think, have attributed to that.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to do one more story, then we'll do tidbits. I want to get through this kind of quick, but it is an important story. Congress has sent a letter to game companies asking how they handle online extremism. As first reported by Axios, 7 Democratic members of Congress sent the letter to companies including Microsoft, Activision Blizzard, Tencent, which I don't know why, we'll talk about that in a little bit, PUBG Corp, Roblox, Ubisoft, Valve, and Innersloth.
Not Epic? Where's Epic?
I think they're on there too.
I know they are. Yeah,
but I loved Innersloth because it's like all these massive companies and then a company made of like 5 people, 7 people, something like that, less than a baker's dozen. It cites a recent study from the Anti-Defamation League that says, among other things, that nearly 1 in 10 gamers between 13 and 17 have been exposed to white supremacist ideology. Reading from the letter, quote, "We know that online games are widely used spaces where millions of people overwhelmingly report experiencing positive social behaviors and find a sense of community and belonging with other players. However, they are also spaces where hate, harassment, and extremism can proliferate, and we are concerned about the total volume as well as the increase in player reports of these negative encounters." End quote. The letter asks these companies for, among other things, how do they identify extremist content in-game? What in- and out-game mechanisms do they have in place to report harassment? How are reports handled? How big is the team that handles them? And what automated tools do they use? And what investments are they making to improve those tools? And a reminder, this is just a letter. They asked for a reply before January 9th, I think, but it's just a letter. It's not legislation, so it's not like they're not forcing these companies to do anything. So it's a nicely worded letter, and the one that I saw was actually addressed to Bobby Kotick. Funny enough.
Yeah, I did see that image. Yeah, that's funny.
Man, talk about the irony in that.
Not Bobby Kotick, Robert Kotick.
Whoa.
Giving his full government name.
Yeah, for sure.
His God-given name.
This is already a situation that unfortunately is like 20 years too late.
Sure.
Not 20. 20-ish years too late. And it's one of those things that now, obviously it's terrible and I hate to see it. I hate it so much. It's actually the reason I stopped talking online for the most part back in Modern Warfare 2, like the original Modern Warfare 2 in 2009. Like I used to talk all the time on Halo 2 and Halo 3. And then eventually it just got to the point where it was just like, I don't want to speak to anybody. I have anxiety about it now. Like, you know, sometimes I want to get on like Mike with my friends on Overwatch, but the anxiety of just even like using my voice like gets me because of the fear of the immediate like attack. Not necessarily like white supremacy, but just hate in general. But it sucks because it happens so much that there's jokes now about it, like on Twitter, on TikTok, and it's like how we used like, oh yeah, white supremacy and hate speech. And it's like, man, we went through that in 2005, whatever, haha. And it's like, well, no, like we can't have this because it just festers and it just grows. So I am curious to see if we will be able to see any responses to this letter, because I would like to see if they even are doing anything regarding this. I know that Overwatch 2, before it came out, they were talking about, like, if you are on mic, you will be recorded.
Sure. Yeah.
Just in case anybody maybe like puts forth a ban request or something, they might be able to go hear that match and see what goes on. But I can't imagine how many people you'd have to hire to comb through all these audios of like 15, 20-minute matches to just like...
That is a sucky job.
And you got to think about what happened to that person's, just like an emergency response caller. You have to think about the psyche, of what would happen. And it's just, it sucks because what's the phrase? The more you hear a lie, the more you think it's true.
Something like that.
But it's like, how much of that will it take to like, perform that act on someone's psyche? So it's a tough situation.
Yeah, it's not that I have a ton of sympathy for some of these companies. Inner Sloth, I think, I'm sure they're doing their best. And I know Microsoft released their transparency report just a couple weeks ago. We didn't talk about it, but Microsoft released a transparency report detailing like how they handled harassment complaints and stuff like that. And I don't have the details in front of me, but it was interesting. But this is a problem that's way bigger than video games, obviously. Like QAnon started on, like, I want to say 4chan.
Probably,
so,
yeah, probably.
Yeah. So it's like, but it's not. But it could have happened anywhere.
Yeah.
Social. That's just when you put a bunch of people on the internet on the same website, this kind of thing is going to exist, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do we deal with that? There are people way smarter than me that has been their life for the past 15 years, is figuring out how to, or the past 20 years since the inception of social media on the internet, figuring out how to curtail online extremism and stuff like that. But at the same time, yeah, I don't know. I don't feel a ton of sympathy for companies because it's like it's part of your job.
Right.
I know it's difficult, but your $1 trillion companies figure the shit out.
Right.
That's kind of partially my attitude. But at the same time, I also want to, because I have seen the stories about like Facebook moderators and the kind of stuff that they have to watch, and it's just like you're just staring into the abyss. Just all day, every day. And that's not a job that I think anyone would want. That's pretty dismal. So yeah, how they handle it, that's going to be complicated.
Yeah.
And I think we've all experienced some level of edgelordiness, and even probably some level of straight up like, that guy might actually be a Nazi. Like that dude, that doesn't sound like a 17-year-old who just, read Marx for the first time and thinks he's cool calling Marx stupid. But that guy may actually have a poster of Edward Norton from American History X on his wall.
Unironically.
Unironically. Anyway, so but I thought we should bring this up.
Oh, sure, yeah, it's important.
Okay, we ready for tidbits? Let's do it. A man discusses the news, but not like the big news, the little news. Little bit. This is the tidbits.
Joke's on you guys. I got 30 minutes of tidbits.
Whoa!
I'm kidding.
It's a lot of bits.
It's a lot of bits, yeah. It's a
Big
chunk.
bits.
We're going to start with Microsoft maybe adding a cheaper ad-supported Game Pass tier. This is according to a Spanish survey shared on Reset Era. The screenshot is unsourced.
Yeah, so
unfortunately,
rumors.
Complete big rumor. The hypothetical plan showed a family plan which has all the benefits of Xbox Game Pass for 5 people for around about $23. The numbers originally were in euros, so this was the conversion. So 23. I know it's a weird number, but also a $3 a month plan that includes first-party titles after 6 months, and an advert would play before launching a game from the Game Pass library.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know. So this is like there are layers to, like, okay, there are grains of salt. This is like a block of salt.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if salt comes in blocks, but if it did,
it does, yes.
You got to take a block of salt. But we know that Microsoft's going to have to change something with Game Pass.
Of course,
right?
yeah.
Because right now, Game Pass on PC is it still $10 a month? I think it's 15.
So if you do Game Pass on PC only, it's $10 a month. But Game Pass Ultimate, which is everything, is $15 a month.
And I know they're probably making bank, but is that bank enough bank? And
they can make more bank.
And they can
with
make more
with the
bank.
help of their advertisers and it's a given. Any streaming service has an ad version for the most part, except Netflix, which they've talked about or implementing soon. I can't remember.
They're putting it in. Yeah.
So it's one of those I have to sit back and be like, well, it's either about time or it was going to happen sooner or later. Like it's one of those two.
Yeah.
However, if you were to put ads in my Game Pass, I would much rather prefer you put an ad at the front before I play a game and never again than like interrupt me every hour or something or every match or something. Yeah.
In-game ads would be, because that would kill the benefit of Xbox Game Pass.
Yes.
Because if a game comes out and I'm like, oh, it's on Xbox Game Pass the day it releases, and I have the ad-supported subscription model, and I know that, okay, well, I can get it on Game Pass and deal with ads, or I can pay $30, $40, $50, $60 and just have the game and not have to worry about ads. I may just buy the game to get it ad-free at that point. So ads are one of those solutions that I think if implemented correctly could be a good way to
be even more signups, I think.
But if implemented poorly or sloppily, you could go the exact opposite way and just make the service way less. Yeah.
And I think right now that would be a pretty attractive offer for advertisers, seeing as how big Game Pass is.
Sure.
And how much gaming has grown throughout the years.
Yeah, and then there's privacy stuff too. Like, I don't want ads for things that I Googled popping up before I play a video game. That'd be great not to have that. So, yeah.
John Carmack has resigned from Meta. John Carmack, the CTO of Oculus Meta and also of Doom and ID Software fame, has resigned from his position last week. A portion of his letter leaked out, and soon after he updated both Facebook and Twitter with the full statement. In his statement, he made no allusions to why he left and has stated that he was frustrated with the direction of the technology and the company. He has stated, quote, "We have a ridiculous amount of people and resources, but we constantly self-sabotage and squander efforts. There is no way to sugarcoat this. I think our organization is operating at half the effectiveness that would make me happy," end quote. I shouldn't have said end quote because the quote continues. "It has been a struggle for me. I have a voice at the highest levels here, so it feels like I should be able to move things, but I'm evidently not persuasive enough. A good fraction of the things I complain about eventually turn my way after a year or two passes, and evidence piles up, but I've never been able to kill stupid things before they cause damage, or set a direction and have a team actually stick to it. I think my influence at the margins has been positive, but it has never been a prime mover," end quote. That's an actual end quote. Highly unfortunate. John Carmack was, if anyone had the ability to push VR further, I feel it was him. That's not to say no one else could have, but he was in a position to do so.
Sure. Yeah.
And could not, unfortunately.
Yeah. I was surprised because I don't know. John Carmack is in a position where I don't follow him a lot, but I mean, he's kind of a legend.
He is a legend.
So I feel like he has the ability to do something that a lot of people that work in games maybe don't have, and that's just speak his mind.
Yeah.
And that's what he did here. And that's interesting because that's kind of how we have guessed things have been going on with Meta and their VR development. I do wish, and he may have in the statement, because I didn't see his statement, it would be interesting to know more specifics, like what things, how were you not listened to, what specific like projects or ideas did you pitch that were turned down? And it may be things that are super complicated that I wouldn't even understand,
Sure.
you know?
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, that's for the market leader in VR right now, when VR is in its infancy, you know, you definitely don't want somebody like Carmack leaving and saying this place is a dumpster fire.
Yeah, I agree. It sucks, but you know, it's what it is.
Sure.
This is a favorite story of mine this week. Frank Cifaldi has discovered a lost game.
Oh, boy.
Along with something unfortunate. Well, not too unfortunate. You'll see. On December 9th, Frank Cifaldi of GameHistory.org fame had teased that he was receiving a bulk of gaming magazines from Gaming Alexandria over on Twitter. Along with that, he teased tons of prototype carts and codes from someone in the Midwest. A couple days later, Frank had announced that he had found a screenshot of the lost Married with Children point-and-click game, based off the TV show, stating, quote, "I had no idea this was real and not just a licensing announcement." Back in the 90s, lots of games were announced, with large amounts of them never being released or even developed past the planning stages. So it's easy to lose track of all of that. After this discovery, Frank, for a bunch of hours, went on a spree trying to find the person behind the screenshot or whoever worked on the game. And after some time, Frank reported back. He said, quote, "So I found the producer's name in a magazine. I realized they misspelled it, and I found the real name on Moby Games. I found his Wikipedia entry and found out that he unfortunately died 10 years ago. And the reference for his death was an obituary written by me."
Really?
Yes. The world is small, end quote. Someone did ask him how he couldn't remember that, and he said at the time he was the news editor for, I forgot the site. It's a big site. I forgot the site, but he said they published 15 stories a day. So he just...
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
That was funny.
All right. That's too bad. A Married with Children point-and-click game.
Yeah, it's point-and-click. Yeah, the screenshot is... it's just a simple screenshot of their living room.
Yeah,
and
I'm looking at
it with Peggy's in it, and then there's just a bunch of selections on the bottom, like inventory and all this weird stuff. So
interesting. Okay.
Anyways, fix. What's that?
Married with Children was kind of like a
It was a family sitcom, but it was very misogynist.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was the 90s.
So it was in the 90s.
But I mean, extreme. The Venn diagram of people who play games and people who are Married with Children fans in the 90s. I imagine there's not a ton of overlap there.
I mean, I can tell you about Home Improvement and it's a very expensive game, and Wayne's World on the NES.
Okay, well maybe.
Anyways, a fix for the PC version of Marvel's Midnight Suns has appeared. This is stupid. Midnight Suns released last month. That has gotten positive reviews for its XCOM-esque gameplay and story, but the PC version is suffering very badly. It's been reported that the PC version has an insane amount of glitching, stuttering, and crashes, rendering it almost unplayable to a chunk of its audience. A fix has been found, however. Simply turn off the 2K launcher. Users found that turning off the 2K Games custom launcher would drastically improve the performance of the game, with reports that frame rates improve over 60%, along with almost no crashes and major issues to speak of. The 2K launcher is somewhat troublesome, as it's also apparently the cause of BioShock having tons of issues on Steam Deck. You don't need your own launcher. No one's going to use it.
You don't. You don't. I don't...
That's it for Tidbits.
Sometimes you wonder how these decisions get made. Who are the people that said, we need a launcher for Marvel Midnight Suns on Steam? It's probably the same people that said, we need a launcher for Grand Theft Auto 5 on Steam.
Have you talked to your good buddy Zelnick?
I have not.
Probably shoot him a text.
I would love to shoot Strauss a text and be, you're not a genius because you happen to be the CEO of a company that has Rockstar as a subsidiary.
I wonder if there's some Giga Chad journalist out there who has people's numbers, and anytime a story breaks, they're just you fucking idiot. I'm gonna write all about this.
Some Giga Chad journalist.
Let's be honest with ourselves. It's Jason Schreier.
Yeah, it's probably Schreier.
Yeah, Schreier hits up
Schreier.
Hey, bitch. I got another story about Blizzard.
Schreier or the less obvious choice, Jeff Keighley.
Here's the thing, though. The executives he texts don't have his number, so they're like, who are you?
How do you know so much about my company? You're going down, Kojima.
I went back. So as part of my video, I played that clip of Don Matrick saying we have a system for that. It's called the Xbox 360.
Yeah.
And I never noticed this, but the interview, the way it's shot is they're standing side by side, right? And there's the shot of both of them, and then there's a camera shot of just Don Matrick.
Yes.
but there's so the shot of both of them.
Oh, I haven't seen the shot of both of them.
So, well, no, it's both shot. Sorry, there isn't one that's a wide shot of the entire.
Sorry, I've only seen like when he says it and it's close. All right, go ahead.
But it cuts to Matrick. But anyway, when it cuts to Matrick and he says, "Well, we have a system for that. It's called the 360," and then Jeff Keighley says, "So that's your message. Stick with 360." And then it cuts to Matrick, and Matrick's like, "Well, if you have no access to the internet," and you can hear Jeff Keighley laugh. I never noticed that, but he lets out like a he lets out like a bit of a snort.
Oh man!
Oh my god, that was just one of the best. But the best moment of that thing, and I know I've said this like a gajillion times, is in the next second he tries to rectify the situation by saying, "Someone told me I'm on a nuclear sub and I don't have internet." And I'm like, "I don't know what that means." And I'm like, "Don, you just said American servicemen put up with not having internet, guys. Stick with 360. Thanks for protecting our country. Buy the next Call of Duty we base on you." Oh man, that was one of the worst. Oh man, yeah.
God,
sorry.
Xbox One sucks.
Oh, the Xbox One's horrible.
I mean, it's functionality, because you still need internet. You need internet still. Like, you still have to log in every 24 hours.
Wait. Huh?
Yeah, I get consoles returned because people don't have internet and they can't play it because you need to connect at least once every 24 hours.
Wait, are you sure?
I'm pretty positive. Otherwise, I wouldn't get these returns.
Because, like, I treat my Xbox One like it's like it's an old Starbucks cup.
Games won't let you play it unless you install the update. Like with PS4, like you could just be like, "Oh yeah, skip update, just let me play it." Like if it's a single player game, but like you have to update it on Xbox One.
God, that's such a horrible concept.
And then I can't even like, if somebody comes in and they trade in a system and they've like reset their like profile and everything, I have to, if they haven't updated since then, go through like a 4 gigabyte update.
Oh, which takes forever.
It takes forever, yeah. And then I have to start the setup process, and you literally cannot start the Xbox unless you have a profile already, or like you sign up for an Xbox account.
God, that system was such a huge failure, especially after the 360. If they didn't trip out of the gate so badly with the Xbox One, they wouldn't be able to argue that PlayStation is the leader. Yep. Because they could have taken the momentum from 360 and gone right into the next generation, flying high and saying, "Here's the Xbox One," and it would have been perfect.
Yep.
But instead, they allowed the script to flip, and PlayStation jumped on it, and now we're in a position where for 2 straight generations now, PlayStation is going to be the better selling console of the two. I assume the trends are going to continue like they are, even though they have the more expensive console and the console that's harder to find. Yeah. They're still somehow going to outsell the Series X and the Series S. Yeah. Although I assume the numbers are backing me up there. I admit
they probably are.
I haven't heard the numbers recently, but anyway, okay. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Gaming Discourse. Patreon.com/The Gaming Discourse. We'll see you next week with the 2020 retrospective
wrap-up
video wrap-up. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.